Hello, this is Robbie Mitchell here from Head in the Cloud Development. Today I'm going to show you how to use NetSuite's SuiteScript 2.1 API the Head in the Cloud way. We'll be coding in TypeScript using the build tools that Head in the Cloud has created to make writing and uploading SuiteScripts faster, easier, and more reliable. Before we get into it, let's talk about what's changed since the last video I did on this a year ago. Well, first, I'm very excited because I just got this brand new M1 MacBook Pro, and I really am doing the setup process from scratch here to show you how easy it is. All I've installed on the laptop so far is Chrome and my video recording software. So we'll be going through it together. Second, if you look closely at the code, you might notice that we're now compiling TypeScript to ES 2020. We started doing this when we switched to always using SuiteScript version 2.1, since the new NetSuite script processing servers are much more advanced than the old one. This means that the resulting JavaScript code is much more readable to us humans. So moving on, to get you set up with a development environment that can automatically upload TypeScript code to NetSuite using token-based authentication, to enable you to have SuiteScript 2.0 and API IntelliSense as you type, to demonstrate how to upload and implement a script in NetSuite, to walk through a real-life example of a client script written in SuiteScript 2.1, and finally to show you how to use the dataset module instead of the search module. What we're actually going to do is create a client script that looks up a customer's sales amount and sets that total into a custom field on the customer record. This video is intended for NetSuite developers and administrators. You should have the administrator role in NetSuite to do everything I cover here. You should be at least familiar with JavaScript and basic web technologies here, and I assume that you've at least looked at the SuiteScript API before. So let's get started. First, we need to download and install a couple of pieces of software. The IDE we're using is WebStorm by JetBrains. So I'm going to install that here. And I'll mention that this IDE is not free, but it does have a 30-day free trial. Second, you need to have Node.js installed. And I recommend using the long-term support version 16. And while we're here, I'm going to post this link on the video so that you can download the script setup files as well. So the files finished first, so let's unzip them, and I'm just going to put them into my Documents folder. Node will get done downloading next, so let's go ahead and install that. And now, next we need to install Gulp globally. So to do that, we need to open up our terminal. And the command to install it is npm install -g gulp. And I don't really understand why, but I often get a permission error the first time I do this. Yep, there it is. So let me show you how to fix this. In Terminal, if you type in who am I, you can see what your username is. Now to fix the issue, you can try sudo chown-r, then your username, then /usr/local/. You'll have to enter your password. And again, sometimes this is not permitted either. And if this happens for you as well, then you can basically do the same thing but on 3 subdirectories instead. So I'm going to push the up arrow on my keyboard and then replace this with local/lib/node modules, and then local/bin, and then local/share. Okay, now if we just try the gulp install again, it should work. And this is very important. You'll probably get a pop-up if you don't already have Xcode installed. We do need to install the developer tools. So go ahead and do this. And this part takes a while, so it's good to start it now. Hopefully it's not actually going to take 94 hours. But while that's going, we can go ahead and install WebStorm, which looks like this. Okay, so WebStorm is installed. And while this is going, let's go ahead and log into NetSuite, and we'll start setting up our uploader bundle there as well. So first I'll mention that if you don't have token-based authentication enabled to your account, you need to go ahead and switch that on under Setup, Company, and Enable Features. So then, you need to make sure to have our HITC Uploader bundle installed. So let's go to Customization, Suite Bundler, Search and Install Bundles. Here if you just type in Head in the Cloud and push Enter, the upload rest will be the first one that pops up. So go ahead and click on that, and then click the blue Install button. And that'll take a few minutes as well. Once that's installed, the next thing you need to do is add the HITC uploader role onto your employee record. So I'm going to edit my employee record. And here on the Access tab, add the HITC uploader role if you don't already have it, and then save the record. Finally, we need to create a token to use with our uploader. To do this, go to Setup, Users and Roles, and click on Access Tokens. Here, click New Access Token. The application name is the HITC Uploader, the user is you, and the role is HITC Uploader. Now, if you ever work on different computers, you might want to name the token specifically for the computer you're on so you remember which one it's associated with. I'm on my laptop, so I'll just put laptop here. And when you save the token, leave this here. Don't navigate away because the token ID in secret is only shown to you one time. We're going to need to copy and paste this into WebStorm after our tools finish installing. Okay, our tools are finally just about done installing here. Okay, and that has finished now. So now let's go ahead and start up WebStorm. So you'll either have to start a trial or activate a license here. I'm going to go ahead and activate mine. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up our code folder in WebStorm. So I put it in my documents, so here it is. And I do want to trust things in my documents folder. So here we are. Now let's first take a look at what we have. You'll notice I've added a few setup files here for you to save some time. First, let's look at the package.json file. When using Node.js, a package.json file tells Node Package Manager which packages and versions need to be installed. So this file is how we tell it to load our 3 Head in the Cloud modules that we use to validate our code against the API and to upload it to NetSuite. You'll notice these are highlighted because WebStorm recognizes that these are not installed, and that's why it's telling us to run npm install down here. So let's go ahead and click that. The next file we can look at is the tsconfig.json file. This file controls how TypeScript files are handled. So here you'll see the ES 2020 version I mentioned earlier. The next file we'll set up is our .hitc upload file. This is the file that tells the uploader which NetSuite account pertains to this project, or which accounts we'll be uploading to, in other words. So for example, you might have your production account, a sandbox account, and a release preview all listed here in this array. You'll see how this is used in a few minutes. Go ahead and update this on your end. Next, we need to set up our .hitc upload token file. This is an array of tokens that correspond to each account in your .hitc upload file. So to start with, you can copy and paste your company ID into this file, and now this is where this token goes that we created. So I'll copy and paste that into here. Finally, let's set up a keyboard shortcut that'll help us when it's time to upload code. Go to your WebStorm preferences, scroll down to Tools, and click on External Tools. Then click the plus icon. For the name, I like to enter build and upload just this file. You can call the group NetSuite HITC. The program we're going to use is gulp. The arguments are build and upload file path relative to project root. And the working directory is $content root $. So now click apply. And now we need to go set up a keyboard shortcut. So go to the key map, go to External Tools, NetSuite, and if you double click on your action, you can click Add Keyboard Shortcut. Now you can set it to whatever you like. I like to use Command-Option-Shift-B. And click OK. Now before we start coding, let's talk again about what we want our script to do. So here I have a customer, and notice that I have a custom total sales field here. We're going to calculate this value using a dataset. And before we build a dataset in code, let's build it in the UI to resemble what we want to do, because it's easier to build it in the UI first. I'm going to go to Analytics, Datasets, New Dataset. And this is going to be a transaction-based data set. Now let's add two filters to this data set. I'm going to add a type filter because I only want to care about sales orders for this calculation. Let's get rid of a few columns that we don't need. And the other filter I want to add is for the customer themselves. Let's stick with Chess Art Gallery. So basically, the sum that we want to calculate is the sum of this column here. And notice that the amount column is in the transaction currency. To help us understand some of the values in this dataset, sometimes it's helpful to download the dataset to XML so we can analyze it and see exactly how these filters are set up. So first we need to save it. I'm just going to call it Robbie Test Transaction Dataset. And now we can export the dataset definition to an XML file. I'm just opening that XML file in TextEdit just so we can see it later on. Okay, let's get back to scripting. So, in our SSV2 folder here, you'll see some scripts here from previous videos, but the one we care about here is customer calculate sales client, the top one. So at the top of the scripts, we do need to have a block comment with some metadata in it. The first thing I put in here is the script name. This isn't actually required anymore, but I do still find it helpful. Next is the end script type tag, which in this case is client script. Finally, the last one is the N API version, which we set to 2.1. Under the header comment, the next section is where we import any external modules that we're using in this script. There's one that we'll pretty much always add, and it's the script entry points from our nTypes module. This module is used to define exactly what the different script contexts look like for the various entry points. So here notice we're using the save record entry point because we want our calculation to happen when the user clicks save on a customer. And first I'll mention that with the save record entry point, we always need to return a Boolean value. The final line of any save record function should always be return true. The return true indicates that the validation aspect of the save record function has passed. In other words, if you wanted to block the save action, you would return false somewhere above this. So now, we're going to need our dataset module for this, so let's go ahead and load that in up here. And we're also going to need the query module for the search operators that we use. Now let's think about the data we need to retrieve for a minute. We know that our data set has two conditions here. So let me show you how to define those in code. So first, I only want to get transactions where the customer is the one that we're currently on. So we're going to define a condition for that. Make my window a bit wider here. This condition is based on the entity field. The operator is query.operator.anyOf. And values are context.currentRecord.id. So there's our customer condition. Second, I only want to get transactions that are of type sales order. So let's define our transaction type condition. Now, how to specify a sales order, I think you could get from looking at the XML. So if we find our conditions in this XML file we downloaded, here it is here. We see that the key for a sales order type is sales order. Okay, so now we have our conditions, so now let's build our data set. Type is transaction. The condition gets rolled up into one. So here we say dataset.createCondition. And then we say the children are our two conditions here. And the operator is and. So we say the condition is this and this. And our columns, so the only column we actually need to get back here is the foreign total column for the amount. Okay, and there's our data set. And after we build the data set, we need to run it to get the results. Let's declare a variable to store our total in. And now we'll iterate through the results, accumulating the total amount. Now notice that WebStorm says that it doesn't like this, and that's because it doesn't know what values are. So to help it out with that, we can say as number, because we know that this is actually going to come through as a number. And finally, we need to set the value on our record. So to do that, we'll say context.currentRecord.setValue, cust entity total sales. Okay, let's add a debugger statement here at the top so we can watch this execute in the console. So now this code is ready to run. Let's use our keyboard shortcut to upload it. Oh, looks like I have a typo in my shortcut. Let's fix that. Go to my external tools, edit that. Yep. Build and upload. Yeah, let's try that again. There we go, that's what it should look like. And I got an invalid login attempt because I just remembered that I'm actually in the release preview. I'm not in my production account, so I need to add RP here and here. So let's try that again. There we go, that's better. So now let's create the script record in NetSuite. Go to Customization, Scripting, Scripts, New, and Customer Calc. There it is. I'm going to copy and paste the script name here. Enter that in here. Save our script. And notice here that NetSuite automatically recognizes that we have a save record function. Now let's deploy our script. Applies to customer, and I'm going to leave it in testing mode. That means it's only going to run for me, not for anybody else. Now let's edit our customer record. And I'm going to inspect the page, bring open our browser console. I like to have this at the bottom. I'm going to clear all the old stuff because we only care what happens when we click save. So I'm going to click save, and here's our script. So here our conditions get created, our data set gets created. We can see that we have 14 results. And let's look at what one of those result values looks like. So the result, the values come through like this. So we see that it is indeed a number. And as we accumulate those, our total sales increases appropriately. So we can go ahead and continue. And when I see here, we got the total amount in our field. And now the save operation is happening. So there we have it. So that works. And I'll briefly mention that if you really want to implement this field in your account, it would be better to do the script as a user event script, because then it'll happen server-side, not just when a user is editing a customer like I am. Nonetheless, I hope this was a helpful example of how to set up a data set in a client script. So that's all for now. I hope you've enjoyed this intro to SuiteScript 2.1 and TypeScript. Feel free to get in touch if you have any questions. Otherwise, we'll see you at SuiteWorld. Thank you for watching.